Okay, Star Wars The Last Jedi. These are my thoughts on the movie. First, let's roll the clip, and then let's get started. Okay, so Star Wars The Last Jedi is the 9th Star Wars movie in the franchise. And I saw it the other night, and I went into it kind of expecting something as good as The Force Awakens. And unfortunately, I was slightly disappointed in the movie, but let's talk about the positives and let's talk about the negatives. Positives, it's a gorgeous looking movie. The director, Rian Johnson, I believe his name is, really knows how to make a cinematic, beautiful looking movie with the components that are in the film. The acting is great. The soundtrack, John Williams' score, is beautiful as always. Uses a lot of recurring themes from The Force Awakens. So if you like that soundtrack, you're gonna like the soundtrack as well. Now this is kind of a positive and a negative. This is a Star Wars movie that's a lot different than Star Wars movies in the past have been. This is going and taking characters in a new direction, which you're not expecting. So, the negatives. There's multiple story arcs going on, and that's fine. But the problem is, it does feel like it's taking forever for everything to kind of come together. It eventually gets there within the last 40 minutes of the film. But the other hour plus is kind of a little slow moving. There's this whole story arc with Finn and this other character, Rose, and I don't know, it's just stupid. There's this whole sequence that takes place on this planet, and they're all like, oh, let's save the animals thing. It's like the social statement. It's kind of unnecessary to the movie. It has humor in it, and the problem with the humor is it doesn't really land very well. I was in the theater and there was probably 50 other people, and there were only like a couple times that people actually laughed at the jokes. Let's talk about Snoke and Rey. This is a spoiler, so I'll throw the spoilers here, and when it's done, the spoiler will go away. We're all hoping Rey had this like really interesting background and everything, and there were all these fan theories out on the internet about it. But it turns out her parents are just nobodies, and that she's nobody special. With Supreme Leader Snoke, you see him in the film, and he gets some screen time, but he gets killed off, and I was not expecting that. Usually, I thought that would be for the next installment. So that was kind of a little disappointing how they killed him, too. So, okay, spoilers can go away. Okay, so negative content. There's 3 or 4 slight uses of very mild language. It's nothing terrible. It's PG worthy. Besides that, it's fine. It's a family-friendly movie. If you've seen the other Star Wars films, it's like that. It's just fine. So, for personal enjoyment, there were parts I liked in this movie. There were also parts that I didn't like, and that were boring and slow, and stuff in the plot that really didn't need to be there. So for my personal enjoyment, I would probably give it a 6 or a 7. I was hoping it was going to be really, really good, because The Force Awakens was fantastic, but unfortunately this was a little disappointing. The problem also with this movie is the rewatchability factor is kind of low, because the first hour and a half of the story really takes its time to get going. Rewatchability factor, I would give it probably a 5. As a film, I would give it maybe an 8. It's a really good, like I said earlier, it's a really good looking film. It's got great acting, great musical score, good editing. So, let's talk about The Force Awakens, The Last Jedi, and the next movie that they're doing. This is like a new trilogy. The Last Jedi is in the middle. And it felt like a movie that was meant to kind of bridge the gap between The Force Awakens and whatever movie the third movie is going to be. It just felt like there was a lot of exposition and a lot of a character set up for the next movie. And the problem with that is, when you do that in a film franchise, the movie that's in the middle, that's explaining everything that's going to happen and that has happened in the past, you've seen half of it, so you don't need to learn it again. And the other half that they're going to be telling you about setting up for the next movie, the rewatchability factor just gets cut down because it's just a lot of exposition. And that's what The Force Awakens had going for it, because it was just the next Star Wars movie. And it wasn't trying to really set up other movies. This one is definitely trying to bridge the gap between The Force Awakens and then whatever movie the next Star Wars movie is going to be. So that kind of just, for me anyway, cuts back on the rewatchability factor. You can watch it once and it can be great, but are you going to want to keep watching it over and over again? Probably not. Check it out if you haven't seen it. Like I said, I did enjoy it, but it was slightly disappointing. And unexpected, too. And unexpected can be good, but it can also be bad. And I've only seen it once, so I can't really determine if that unexpectedness is good or bad. So I will have to see it again. So yeah, thanks for watching. Those are my thoughts on the movie. Like, subscribe, comment below. I like reading your guys' comments. And I hope you guys have a great new year. Goodbye.